Love to listen in the morning. Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliant to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
You know, I just reminded myself of dancing like that. I reminded myself, you guys don't see it. Every time Nils Gravilius comes on the show, he's in the green room. We see him in the little cube there on the screen, and he's dancing like this the whole time. There's no music. And so that time I decided to actually dance and enjoy this song. And here I am. I've reminded myself of Nils Gravilius, which means nothing to you. Good morning, everybody. How the heck are you? Excuse me. It's Tuesday, the 6th day of January, year of our Lord 2025. All of you insurrectionists, I'm sure you're taking a holiday today on January the 6th for the insurrection. Liz Cheney is actually going to come haunt you today if you are celebrating it all, January the 6th. Good to have all of you here on the program. Jimmy is my name, Jimmy Lakey. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled I am to be here. I hope you feel the exact same way about being here with me as I feel about being with you. Anybody got anything on your mind to talk about? Not much in the news, right? Not much in the news at all. Nicolas Maduro pled not guilty, so we'll probably let him out of jail. He's let him go home. He's out of jail. Isn't it amazing? The Democrats are saying free President Maduro and these protesters out there, and send him right back to Venezuela. You're like, okay, so he can continue raping and killing people? Is that what we like? We hate this guy so much, Donald Trump, that we will allow Venezuelans to be raped, killed, pillaged, put in prison, and all the bad things that happen to them under Maduro, who's really a mass murderer. But we hate Donald Trump so much we don't give a rat's patootie as a Democrat about the hurting and the suffering that this guy causes. So it's going to be fun to watch this whole trial unfold, especially I think as the evidence, I think more and more as it settles in to what has happened here, that it's not unprecedented and this has happened before, and we have had military extractions and military involvement in removing people and heads of state. This is a little bit different too. This has been handled a little bit differently. If you notice, the person still in charge of Venezuela is still the Nicolas Maduro regime. This has not been a regime change at all. They're talking about Marco Rubio. Anything that happens in Washington, D.C., have you gotten the feeling that Marco Rubio's hey, Marco, you're in charge. Marco, you're in charge. I don't know if he's getting a pay bump every time, but he's in charge of everything. Remember when USAID and was doged? And the State Department was trying to figure out what to do. Donald Trump said, hey, Marco, you're in charge of that. There's been 3 or 4 things that Marco Rubio gets put in charge of, and he's in charge of Venezuela, coordinating the administration's efforts there. Now, they do have the same regime there, but they've said, hey, we're calling the shots. And I have a feeling there's been a little bit of a warning to them and said, hey, let's just stay in charge there, Madam Vice President. You talked a little smack there when we arrested Maduro, but we'll let you talk a little smack and you can do your own thing there for a little bit, but don't get out of line because you don't want to end up in a situation that's not positive for you. So it's just fascinating to watch the apoplectic. You study a little bit more about Maduro, read a little bit more about Maduro, what he's done, what he did, all of those fun things, and you say, wow. The Democrats, it seems as if on an issue like that, they can say, you know what, the guy's a bad guy. We would have liked the approval of Congress or whatever, but we're glad the guy's gone. One of the ladies on The View, I don't know all the ladies that host The View. One of them is a Hispanic lady, I believe, by her name and her appearance. And she actually came out on her own YouTube channel and said that she actually was for it, and she was glad Maduro was gone. So give me your thoughts. It's had several days to sink in. We talked about it yesterday. That was our question of the day. Do you agree or disagree with the arrest of Nicolas Maduro? And the guy's a mass murdering communist thug, but did you see when I didn't see this till yesterday. I think it happened the day he was arrested when he did his perp walk in handcuffs down the hallway, and he says, "Happy New Year, good evening, Happy New Year, Happy New Year." I'm like, well, at least he got a little sense of humor there as a mass murdering communist thug that the Democrat Party seems to be okay with. Remember, we got just a few weeks away from going from no kings to please put the king communist thug dictator back in power so he can rape and pillage a country. If the Democrats didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. I got a question of the day for you today. Today is the 6th day of January, a day that insurrectionists are probably celebrating, and probably federal agents are looking for rogue FBI agents are looking for ways to, I guess, get MAGA supporters in trouble or something. So January the 6th is the day, 2025. But it's also not just National Insurrection Day. I made that one up. It's also National Take Your Christmas Tree Down Day. Here's your question of the day. It's always the 6th. Every year, the 6th day of January is the national day to take down your Christmas tree. It's because of that, because the 12 days of Christmas has now ended. A national take down your Christmas tree is always January the 6th. If you're traditionalist, the 12 days of Christmas ended last night. Per tradition, you're supposed to keep your tree up until all 12 days of the 12 days of Christmas have passed, according to the song. Everybody sing along. Delilah, would you like to sing? Okay, she's not going to sing. She's not into it. The 12 days of Christmas ended last night, so per tradition, keep your tree up, take it down today. Also getting to the point, if you have a real tree, that thing is probably dried out, and your home could be on fire by the afternoon. So I would suggest taking your Christmas tree down if you have a real one. If you're not ready to put your fake tree back in storage, you probably should. It's time to take down the Christmas tree. Now, I'm going to confess to you, I have not taken down my Christmas tree. I think my son leaves off for college on Sunday, and sometime between now and when he leaves, we decorate it together, and he and I will take it down together. That will probably maybe this evening or tomorrow evening, we'll get that thing down. But here's the question of the day is, when do you take down your Christmas decorations? Now, I know people in Colorado, and all of you out of state of Colorado are going to think they're weird, and I think they're weird as well. So don't. I understand. I have to live with these people. There's a tradition in Colorado that you're supposed to leave at least your outside Christmas lights on your house until the National Western Stock Show has finished its run in Colorado. It starts Thursday. There's a big parade in downtown Denver. They drive longhorns and steers and things all the way through the downtown streets of Denver, heading to what we call the National Western Stock Show complex. If you're in Colorado, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, so people in Colorado will probably start in the comment section and say, "I keep them up till after the stock show," and it's some weird tradition that somebody started years ago that keep your lights on your house until the stock show. And I think where that started, I think where that started was some wife or somebody was there. We'd take the Christmas lights down, and the guy's like, "I ain't taking them down to the stock show," and it just happened. And so, anyway, when do you take your Christmas tree down? RJ says we took our tree down on January the 1st. That was kind of tradition growing up. Is that shortly after New Year's, Mama had the tree down and all the decorations went away. Scott is on the Rumble. I just see he posted a comment there. And they take theirs down post Super Bowl. Well, that was okay when the Super Bowl was mid-January, but now the Super Bowl's in early February. Scott, you tell your wife that she's waiting too long, and she's giving you an excuse to be lazy. Unless she takes it down, then don't call her lazy. But if you're like, "Well, I would take it down, but the wife says it's got to stay up till after the stock show." Oh, let's go after the Super Bowl too. It's just we make this stuff up. When do you take your Christmas tree down? Is your Christmas tree down? That is your question of the day. If you could comment in all the forums that we have, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, all of these forums, we'd love to hear from you. When do you take your Christmas tree down? Love to hear from you. And when are the decorations coming down? And Coloradoans, if you're out there, do you leave them up for the stock show? Scott, I believe, he's in Wyoming, right? That's that Scott. He's the Wyoming Scott. So Wyoming Scott he's got like 45 logins. Have you noticed that, Delilah? Like 45 logins this guy has. He watches us on every platform. He's a faithful listener, a faithful viewer. And we appreciate you, Scott. Yeah, he's going to keep it up to after the Super Bowl. Why don't you, if you wait until like the 4th of July, I'm just saying, you could get some extra use out of it. If it's a fake tree, turn it into an Easter tree, turn it into a 4th of July tree. And then by the time the fall comes around, you say, well, we might as well just keep it up for Christmas. I think you could do that. All right, that's your question of the day. When do you take your Christmas tree down? Love to hear that detail and that story from you. When do you take your Christmas tree down? All right, I got one more story. We're in Maduro. We got a lot of history and topics of news I want to get to. But something big time happened in my house last night. I'm a grown man, right? I think you know that. I'm a grown man. I've well past the puberty years. My voice is low and everything. I'm a grown-ass man, right? And I got good news for you. Last night, for the first time in my adult life ever, I got a spice rack. You see it on the screen? I have a spice rack. I have this cabinet, and it's usually, it's my son's home, it's just me. And so I have this cabinet, you open it up and there's all the spices that you want. And I use the onion powder, the garlic salt, the garlic powder. There's a basic, then you got all the other salts, the other spices that I've accumulated throughout the years, and they're all in there. And probably most of them, I should look up the expiration date on it and go, yeah, that's probably no longer spicy. It's no longer spicy spice. It's bad spice. I don't know if spice goes bad. I can look that up. But the first part of this intervention is that I went on the Amazon and said, man, I get tired of picking up the bottles in this cabinet, trying to figure out where's that. And what happens is when I think I don't have a spice, I go to the store and I buy another one. Like I had 4 different varieties of cinnamon. And I think I use cinnamon once a year, but I always think I don't have it because I have a spice nuclear bomb going on there. So I got a spice rack. It's big time. I'm excited. One of the first things I told producer Chad in our pre-show meeting this morning is I have a spice rack now. And so, ladies and gentlemen, my son was playing video games with his Christmas presents, and he was sitting downstairs last evening, and I was organizing and putting up the new spice rack because it's fancy. You can raise it, you can lower it, stretch it out. It was not only these spinny things. That's simple. I got the complicated one made in China that I had to assemble, and it can spread the entire width of all these things. It does. And I said, "You got a break there in your game?" "Yeah, I'm on pause." I said, "Come look. I want to show you something." He thought maybe I was making dinner. No. I said, "Look, I got a spice rack." He smiled, shook his head at me as if I'm maybe a ridiculous human being, and said, "That looks good. Looks nice, Dad." And he went back to play his video game. So if any of you would like to see my spice rack, I'd be glad to show you my rack any day. That doesn't sound right, does it, Delilah? That does not sound very nice if I say that. And Delilah, if you ever say that, I'm going to report you to HR. If Delilah ever says, I'm going to show you my rack, that's a bad thing. Especially if you do Delilah. Ooh, good Lord. And people usually give her money for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you here on the program. Richard C. Lyons is in the green room, and I'm sure a man of his esteem and fame, and he's a proper gentleman. I'm sure he has a spice rack long ago. How I ended up in my the half century of my life and just now got a spice rack, I have to tell you, I don't know. Never had a spice rack ever. Have one now. Very proud of it. I almost posted photos, but I thought even telling you about it was probably silly enough. All right, when do you take your Christmas tree down? That is your question of the day. Are the Christmas trees down? Feel free to let us know if you got your Christmas decorations up. If you're a Coloradoan, do you adhere to this stuff that I almost said the spice rack has to stay up? Do you adhere to this thing that possibly, just possibly, you keep them up till after the National Western Stock Show? All right, let's go to our first guest of the day. We won't talk about my spice rack anymore. Our Lois says, that's fun hearing about my spice rack. Well, thank you. A lot of people like to hear about my rack, I tell you, said Delilah all the time. All right. Don't you throw that at me. Don't you throw, she's about to throw something at me. All right, let's go to Richard C. Lyons. He's, that's a bookshelf behind him. It's not a spice rack, but you can get a lot of spices on that rack behind you there, sir. How are you, Richard C. Lyons?
Well, certainly they're all full of ideas, Jimmy.
Spicy ideas. Freedom is spicy. It can cause a little controversy. It's good. Richard C. Lyons, first of all, Happy New Year. Glad to have you here on the show, sir.
And to you, Jimmy. Thank you.
I want to dive in here. We got a couple of topics I want to get to, including some restorations of some historic military bases that are being reestablished in the World War II era that may be prepping us for some kind of a conflict with China. Come to that in a second. Give me your thoughts. You're watching this moment in history, and you're a historian, knowing that this moment of history of extracting, arresting, and now prosecuting Maduro from Venezuela. It's not just a big story now. It's going to be a big story for a while. It is a definite moment in history. A lot of us might remember where we were when we heard that Maduro had been arrested in that great military operation. From a historian's perspective, is there anything that triggered a red flag? Like, okay, be careful. We've done this before, but we don't want to stumble down this path. Give me your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts are, this goes back 200 years, right, Jimmy, when it was the Monroe Doctrine that said that no European monarchy or empire could colonize South America against the interests of the United States. And so what you have had over the previous years, and what presidents for a long time have done, they've ignored South America to our cost. China has been, Russia's always had Cuba, right, and Nicaragua in the communist sphere. They're now narco states along with Venezuela. But you have China, a real player, who is now, with their Belt and Road Initiative, taking over the ports and railroad lines and food supplies of South America, and doing so strategically. At the same time, you have Maduro, who is in alliance with China and allied to drug cartels operating in the United States, distributing drugs that are killing 100,000 Americans a year. And that estimate is low. So what do you do when you have an actor like this in our own hemisphere, allied to Cuba and Nicaragua, allied to China, Russia, and Iran, who is actively providing the poison that is killing your own citizens? And how do you make a statement to the world that you are re-exerting your influence over this hemisphere? Well, the operation, just another miracle after the Iran operation, taking out their nuclear capability. This operation, too, was surgical. Not a single soldier lost, no equipment lost. And here we have Maduro in New York about to stand trial. I mean, this is the stuff of the miraculous. This is not normal. But it does send a message, and our fleets are still in the Caribbean. And now I think they'll go to choking Cuba, right?
Yeah.
But I think it sends a very important message. And I think on the other side of the world, in Asia, to assure China that we are not taking our eyes off of Taiwan. We are now revitalizing all those bases that we won, with our blood and treasure in World War II.
I had a friend yesterday that I was talking with, and he's a casual observer of politics, but he's pretty well read. And he said, Jimmy, I think what's going to happen is we're going to end up trading, and we're going to just kind of turn a blind eye to Taiwan. And I said, where do you come up with this nonsense at? And he was convinced that that we had just painted the roadway in which that now China was going to go in and say, we've got to extract the leader of Taiwan with charges, and we've laid kind of the historical precedent down, and we set the example. I disagreed with him, but I want to find this interesting segue that it's not China's. We're reestablishing those military bases. Talk about that, because that is a sign that we're not giving up Taiwan. We're not just focusing on our hemisphere. We're still focused over there. Talk about these military bases. Where are they at? What's happening?
Well, there are military bases like Guam and like Iwo Jima and bases like that where you can port your ships, and you have air bases and so forth to strike Asia. And I disagree with your friend. I think, you can come with a perspective. Well, if you as America are operating towards Venezuela as though you can take them over at any time, we as China can reclaim Taiwan after all these years since World War II. But I think there's a lot of signs that the argument is plain. When Trump went on his trade mission, now he uses trade and commercial interests to form his foreign policy. And when he went to Asia and literally came to trade agreements by circling China, he literally circled China with countries like Vietnam and so forth, with which he made trade agreements. And also by visiting our allies in South Korea and Japan, we really have China encircled in a way. And also this operation in Venezuela is a message to China in a different way. In one way, it says you stay out of Venezuela. In another way, if you are in agreement with us, your oil supply is going to go through the roof. Oil prices are going to come down, right? For China. Yeah. So this is three-dimensional chess that the Trump administration is playing, getting China, Iran, Russia out of South America, encircling China in Asia, and trying to create peace from the havoc that the Biden administration left.
I think the people are now sometimes reflecting again. It's the Donroe Doctrine instead of the Monroe Doctrine, which is probably actually pretty good. You know, it's been less than a year since President Trump was inaugurated. You start to think about a lot of his initiatives in our hemisphere. First of all, of course, a lot of talk about Greenland and Iceland, and people said, "Oh, that's just crazy idea that Donald Trump had." And then you had Panama. We had the Chinese taking over the Panama Canal. We solved that one within the first month or so of the administration. And people don't realize the Greenland thing is really about the shipping corridors up there. You have Chinese and you have Russian ships up there in that Arctic area. And Trump says they're in our backyard. That's no different than being in Venezuela or Cuba. We have to solve this problem. People just hear these stories and they don't go back. The rule has always been stay out of our hemisphere. We run this one, and he's very focused on it.
Yes. Well, going back to Monroe at that time, you had the British Empire, you had a Spanish Empire, all these sorts of things, but it's the same idea that you don't want a potential enemy controlling territory in your hemisphere, and you want peace in this hemisphere, and Trump is trying to create that. And it might seem, South America is very big, and you don't want to have a domino effect where you're lining up people to ally against you. But I think his approach to Maduro was measured. I think we have to have elections there very quickly. And hopefully Maria Corina Machado will be the next president of Venezuela. And then you have an example. And the example to set, before the end of the Trump administration is that you have a trade agreement with Venezuela. They are prospering. They are at peace. They are at peace with their neighbors, right? That's what you want to achieve. Instead of the havoc that's been going on for years, particularly with Biden, where we're taking in all these Venezuelans who are forming gangs of cartels in our cities and giving sanctuary there, right? And then China being literally across the Caribbean from us, and with access to Nicaragua and Mexico. This, it was chaos.
Yeah. A lot of folks are talking, is Cuba going to be next? What's going to happen to Panama? That's been another story. And there's other countries in that in our hemisphere that are kind of faltering. A lot of folks are turning their eyes to this. Give me your thoughts. Cuba. What does the Venezuela arrest of Maduro mean for Cuba?
Well, I think our fleet is already there. So I think that suggests that the blockade that we did to Venezuelan oil now will apply to Cuba. Cuba has they had colonized pretty much our Venezuela through their soldiers and so forth that they would send there to populate their police force. It was a Cuban police force that was monitoring whether people were towing the line for Maduro. So the first thing they got to do is get all the Cubans out of Venezuela and then send the message to Cuba. Venezuela is about to prosper. They're about to be free and at peace. Do you want this path, or do you want to be blockaded? And you've been starving for 60 years. Why don't you just set your people free?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a wide divergence in the road between those two things.
You mentioned the encircling of China by the United States, our policies, our trade,
Yeah.
cutting off the oil supply that they've had from Venezuela. Talk about Putin and China, obviously Russia and China, with this action against Maduro and watching kind of this this doctrine unfold of Donald Trump. What do you think's running through Vladimir Putin's head about right now as he's seeing that the gravy train that he's been funding a lot of getting cheap oil from? Is this frightening Putin at all? Is this making him at all more willing to end the nonsense in Ukraine?
Well, if we unleash the oil supply of Venezuela, the currency that Russia has to fight the war in Ukraine goes down. Price of oil goes down, their capacity to fight goes down. Putin is a rather desperate tyrant, and when you're in his condition, you need successes, and Ukraine is not a success. So he's in a very odd position. But he would look at Ukraine like, well, why are you dealing with Ukraine when you're doing what you're doing to Argentina? It's like China and Taiwan. If you're doing this to Venezuela, why can't we do this to Taiwan? So it'll be interesting to see how they react to this. But it's a profoundly meaningful move on the part of the Trump administration.
If you're listening to the program via the audio, which thousands of earballs will hear this show on the Streamcast, the podcast, and all the things we do here, author of The DNA of Democracy and Shadows of the Acropolis, The DNA of Democracy. It's an American poet, Richard C. Lyons, a historian extraordinaire, Richard C. Lyons. Richard, I see a banner behind you there in your esteemed library, and it says, "But by the chance of war," are you hinting and foreshadowing something new coming?
No, this is an old book. It got to a new edition 2 years ago, but it's a book that it entails just what we're talking about, Jimmy. What is the nature of tyrants and why they go to war, and how the good citizens of the world, the good nations of the world, have to band together to stop some such dictators before they maul their neighbors.
To those people that would say that Donald Trump, by his actions, is provoking China, Venezuela was their friend. They were in Venezuela that very day trying to have some friendship there with Maduro. Do you see Trump as a provocateur? Do you think that China gets the warning? How do you think that Trump is taken and perceived by China and Russia? Are they a little worried here, or they don't give a rat's patootie and think that Trump's poking them in the eye and insulting them?
No, I think he has become a character that they have to respect, Jimmy. There's two ways to create peace, and one is just a falsehood. You can ignore the bad actors in the world, which Biden did. And look at what happened with Iran. They were exercising a hegemony in the Middle East and had Israel surrounded by terrorist organizations. So Biden just said, well, you know what? We're actually going to fund Iran. We're going to come to an agreement with them, and then everything will be okay. What you're doing in that instance is just you're deferring war till later, and it'll be a worse war. What did Trump do by his example? He goes in and takes out the nuclear capability that Biden didn't want to touch, right? Yeah. And so put Iran on its back heels, and now Iran's own people are calling for new leadership in Iran. So that is when you confront bad actors in the world. And what Trump is doing is confronting China, both in Venezuela and in Asia, with the reconstruction of military bases, with the trade agreements he's made encircling China's interests. So this is what it looks like when you confront bad actors to create peace.
The voice of Richard C. Lyons. Richard, I'll let you give the plug for the DNA of Democracy. Excuse me. And also, the book behind your head might be very apropos for this time, but by the chance of war. Go ahead, Mr. Lyons.
Well, they're all available at Amazon, and my website is richardclyons.com. There's a little shop there, and explanations of the books and critiques and reviews for persons interested in the subject. I am very thankful that Trump has done what he has done, both in Iran and in Venezuela. And I think it is creating peace around the world. He just has to be measured.
in this resurrection of the Monroe Doctrine, now the Donroe Doctrine, is there anything that if you were sitting down with President Trump, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, the guys implementing this doctrine, is there anything historical that you would say, hey, pay attention to here because this is a stumbling block historically in this Monroe Doctrine? Is there any word of advice that you would love to feed to President Trump or to Marco Rubio as they implement this policy, strengthen the Western Hemisphere, reinvigoration of the Monroe Doctrine? What would you say?
Well, I would tell your audience, I've met Marco Rubio on a few occasions and talked to him personally, and he is an extremely smart and capable man. And to have him in the Secretary of State position, particularly right now, who, his history, his family history is originated in Cuba. You couldn't have a better representative as Secretary of State. Yeah. And I am sure they're going to be measured as an administration. And that is the only thing that I would caution. You don't want to have too many fires going on in too many places.
Yeah. Richard C. Lyons is right there on your screen, richardclyons.com. Check out all of his books. Look up his name on Amazon. If you're listening, you don't see it on your screen. It's Lyons, Richard C. Lyons, Lyons.com. And all of his books are great history, a lot of fun to read, especially if you're a student or a geek of history, as I tend to be. So go check him out, richardclyons.com. Richard, I'm going to let you go organize the books or the spice rack, whichever one you want to go do, but I appreciate you hopping on here today.
Good luck with those spices, Jimmy.
Spicy, I'm telling you. Richard C. Lyons, thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I like to give announcements in the show. This is what we do. We make announcements. Coming up 2 weeks from today, you know what's happening here? Ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks from today, there it is on the screen. We're doing road shows this year. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey Unleashed podcast and streamcast. It's the Lakey Unleashed Road Show. It's going to be a live event. This is our first one. We're going back to where we had our first live event, and that is on January the 20th. We did an inauguration day at a place in Lafayette, Colorado called the Casbar Cigar Lounge. The doors will open 7:45. The show will start at 8. We'll do the show live from there, January the 20th. Don't worry if you're in Texas. We got some other ones plotting out here. We'll want to go out and see Michael Letts out in the Carolinas. So we'll do some other road shows across the country. But our first road show of 2026 is coming up, a live event Tuesday, January the 20th at 8 a.m. The show starts live. There'll be some food availability for you, some coffee. We'll do some prizes. There you can see that Jimmy Lakey bobblehead that is so esteemed and famous. We'll do that. But the Lakey Unleashed Road Show. Is there a tour bus? Not for the one in Colorado. We don't need the tour bus. But listen, we're sparing no expense for this one. Producer Chad and I got nothing but money to spend on this crap. I mean, this thing. We're ready to go. So the Lakey Unleashed Roadshow right there, Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026. Fly in. It's worth it. You should get an airplane ticket, fly on miles, and come see us wherever you have. We'll come to a state near you, hopefully in the coming months. But this is our January Roadshow, Lakey Unleashed, January the 20th. And we hope you'll be there. If you're not there, be square. That's what I have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about my spice rack, I'm not going to begin our conversation with Laura Carno asking if she has a nice rack. I'm not going to say that to her. Laura Carno.
Somehow when you were talking about that earlier, I knew you were starting with that, Jimmy.
No, I'm not starting with that. That's the thing. I said I'm not starting with that with you. I just let people know what I'm not.
Yeah, some people would call that a passive-aggressive approach, but, you do you.
Delilah, am I passive-aggressive? She flipped me off. That's direct aggression right there. She did that. I'll never forget when Ken Salazar was running for U.S. Senate. He was our former attorney general, became a U.S. senator. His people came to me and said, I said, I want to interview on the day he announced. And they said, Lakey, we're not sure. So his people came to me and said, we can do it, but the interview has to be about bio. He'll come on for issues later. This is about biography. Board the son of a sharecropper, have a Dairy Queen, all the little pity stories that Ken Salazar wanted to say. So I considered it, and I said, okay, I'll accept the conditions. And at the end of the interview, as we finished this interview with Ken Salazar, who went on to become our U.S. Senator and then later on the Secretary of Interior under Obama, I said, Mr. Salazar, I look forward to having you back on soon because I'd really like to talk about this issue, but I promised your people I wouldn't, so I look forward to talking about that. And he said, I want to talk about that. I said, no. I promise your people, they said no issues today. It has to be biography. But when you do come, I named like 4 or 5 issues. And Salazar was like, let's talk about that. I said, no, we cannot talk about those. I promise your people that I wouldn't talk about those.
That's awesome.
Might have been passive aggressive. And he never came back on the show.
It's part of what happens in politics. So you got to, sometimes you don't know if you're going to get another bite at that apple. So you have to get things.
I did get cursed out and poked in the chest by his campaign manager at a public event. You are a blah, blah, blah son of a, he said bad things about me and my mother. He was not
literally poked you in the chest, like made contact?
Not like he was pointing, and it was
in your bubble.
In my bubble. He was in my space. And he was in my space. And then anyway, it's funny. All right. We won't talk about your spice rack then. Thank you. But
we do need to talk about spice racks, because my only question is whether your spices are alphabetized, as is the proper order of things.
I was telling producer Chad now that they're kind of organized, I realize I have some of the store brands and I have some of the McCormick's and I have different brands. And now the OCD is kicking in. And I need all the same size bottles, the same brand. So I'm going to have to pick a spice brand, I think is what's going to have to happen here.
Or you can get the little ball jars or mason jars. They're really little.
Yeah.
And put all your spices, regardless of brand, in those and label them.
Oh, that sounds like a Pinterest project.
That's not hard.
It's not hard.
I have all the spices, and they're all organized and alphabetized.
Yeah, the spices expire, because I was reading. I have this the metal can of basil leaves, and I'm like, I don't know when I've ever used basil leaves, and I don't know why I have it, but I have them. And so I looked it up, and I said, what can I use basil leaves? Put pizza and vinaigrettes and things like that. That's fine. You can sprinkle that on there. But then I looked it up, and it says you should probably dispose of it after 6 to 12 months. And I was
so they all say that, and I look at that as a best buy date. If you open it and kind of rub the spice between your fingers, if it still smells good, if it still smells like the spice is supposed to smell, there's at least some flavor in it, and maybe you use a little bit more. But make a pot of spaghetti sauce, dude.
I think my basil is dead. I don't have any tomatoes, because you haven't given me tomatoes this season.
They actually sell them in stores in cans. I don't know if you've seen those.
Oh, do they really? I didn't know. That's where I bought all the spices. I've got this spice. It's like an eclectic mix. And there's been a couple of times I've gone to Costco and I thought, I need a lot of extra cumin, and I get the big tub, and now I've fit that in there. And I've got spice issues now. I'm gonna obsess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you ever need help organizing them, I can bring my labeler over. We can get some of the little jars and OCD out together.
Laura and I are going to have a spice labeling party. It's going to be spicy. It's going to be exciting. All right. Yeah. Like you and I have nothing better to do in our lives besides label spices. All right, Laura Carno, good morning. How was your new year? Did you celebrate, party hard, all that fun stuff?
Asleep by 9 for sure.
Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. That's spicy. That is really,
really
well,
spicy. We moved into a house, and there's a lot to do in organizing spices, etc. And
living like a civilized human being, are you?
Yes, but we know, to answer your question today, we never put up our Christmas tree because we were moving, so it never went up this year. But ordinary circumstances is it's up sometime around Thanksgiving weekend, and it's down either Christmas night or the 26th morning.
Oh, you're done. You use Boxing Day to box up that Christmas tree. I see how it goes.
But, yeah, things to do, because I start my new year before the new year, get everything organized and all that.
All right, Laura Carno, let's talk another topic of the day. Over the weekend, New Year's weekend, people were partying it up, and then they wake up and hear that this guy named Nicolas Maduro has been extracted from Venezuela and is now in a New York City jail. It's amazing how some people say this is an illegal action by Trump. This is unconstitutional. Give me your thoughts, madam, if you would, about this Maduro arrest and the U.S. actions that have happened there.
Yeah, and you mentioned let's see, Jonathan Turley, I think, article at Fox. There's an additional one there by Greg Jarrett that talks about why this is not unconstitutional and it's not illegal. And I think with you and your other guest and yesterday, kind of talked a little bit about that. But for anybody on the left specifically who's saying it's illegal or unconstitutional, those two gentlemen make they bring the receipts, so to speak, on why this was not illegal or unconstitutional. But I would also point out to those on the left, Biden had a bounty on Maduro's head during his administration and raised it to like $25 million during his term as president.
Yeah.
And I don't remember hearing any people on the left saying anything about that. And you had mentioned too, with your other guests, that most of his inner security circle were Cubans. And so you look at that and you say, I wonder why that is. Venezuela served the interests of Cuba. Venezuela did not serve the interests of Venezuelans. All of the tens of thousands of people who were killed by their government over the years, the vast oil reserves that should have been going to the benefit of their economy just went to the cronies. All of those kind of things. I mean, those aren't the constitutional or legal arguments for it. But from a human standpoint, when we here in the United States fight for our own freedom, looking at other countries where there's an opportunity to help remove the boot of force against people so that they can live free, and those are all very good things.
The voice of Laura Carno, by the way, if you're listening later in the day, you're listening to the Streamcast or podcast platforms, that's Laura Carno and fastercolorado.org. We'll talk about that organization in just a moment. That's the voice you hear, CARNO, lauracarno.com. You can find her website as well. Laura, you sent me a story that I find quite intriguing, is that middle schoolers can't do math. I know that math scores plummet every year on our standardized testing here in the state of Colorado. Turns out, when I'm talking to our friend Bob Schaefer, mutual friend who has a great charter school, that a lot of times your teacher teaching the math class at the local middle school, let's say, doesn't even have a math degree. They may just, I know math and I have an English degree, but I can do math as well. Let's talk about this. There's a little controversy circulating around about math problems in our schools. You sent me the story, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so this goes back, it was before Christmas, there was a story that came out of UCSD, University of California at San Diego, and they published, I think, surprisingly to a lot of people, they published and said, hey, we got a lot of people coming in from high school that have no idea how to do math, and we've got increasing numbers of high school graduates that have to take remedial math. So that was about the whole story at that time. They didn't release a whole bunch of details. Well, now they've released a bunch of details, Jimmy, and it's, I would say, not surprising, but it is really an indictment on public K-12 schools. And here's some of the numbers that UCSD released. So they said that 1 in 12 incoming freshmen don't know middle school math. We're not talking algebra, geometry, trigonometry, the advanced high school math. This is middle school math. We're talking about fractions. So 1 in 12 didn't know middle school math. And the remedial math course that UCSD offered was too advanced for these 1 out of 12 UCSD freshmen. So UCSD had to create a remedial class to get in as a prerequisite to the remedial class. Wow. And here's the shocking part, though. A quarter of those students that they were so 1 in 12, a quarter of those students that they were putting into the remedial math had a perfect 4.0 GPA in high school math courses. So they couldn't do the work, but they were passed in high school with 4.0 GPAs in math. So you want to look at, not only is the school system failing many kids, but they are not even sharing that they're failing many kids. They are saying, yeah, go ahead, just leave our school. We don't want to have record of the bad apples that can't pass math, because these are people in high school who couldn't even do middle school math. So it's really a big indictment. You mentioned our friend Bob Schaefer. There are some great schools out there making sure that kids know what they need to know to go out into the world and be successful. But kudos to UCSD for saying, hey, we got a big problem here. They're a state school, casting aspersions on a different part of government schools in California.
We have a similar standardized testing on the decline. I haven't heard the comparison of the university entry level, but we have politicians in Colorado. One may run for president one day that's going to talk about all the great things he's done for the great state, and yet that's one thing that has declined under his purview and under his watch is that our testing scores have declined, and kids just don't know certain things. I know my son has realized when he went to university out of state, he realized, he goes, wow, I didn't learn that in my high school. They didn't teach that as thoroughly as they should have. He even talked about the geography of certain states. Some kids are like, oh, they knew that. It wasn't in our curriculums. We didn't get to that. And that's seemingly a problem that we're dumbing down the education a little bit so the test scores can stay up or not crash as much. And that makes politicians look better and say, look how smart we are. But no, we just made it easier. And that's not good.
Right. And so if government puts in a law that says, okay, everybody has to pass, let's figure out how to make everything look like they pass. And we found something similar with violence. If you say, you have to report all the violence that goes on in your school so you can be listed in this report as the most violent schools, they just don't report it, Jimmy. So, when government thinks it's going to pass a law to improve things, doesn't mean people are going to comply with it properly. So, you have to look at all of the things. And I think this UCSD measure is a really good measurement of what's actually going on.
I had an example of math struggles. I was a math struggler. I changed majors so that I had to take limited math because I was just going to law school. That's all I was going to do. So I don't take math. I have an accountant. But I was at this place. It was in Texas over the weekend visiting my mother. My son and I went down there. And my son is now 21. And so I wanted to take him to one of my favorite places. It's one of the best cigar smoke lounges, sports bars in America. It's called Henry's Cigar Lounge, big setup here. And they're connected to a great place called the Meehan's Chop House. So you order food from the same kitchen, and as a proper gentleman, you can have red meat and a steak while you have a cigar. It's fantastic. It's the way America should be, and every place should have a Henry's. We're going to do a road show there, by the way. That's coming up. We're going to do a road show at Henry's Cigar Lounge probably in February or March. So a little hint there. So I asked the waitress that was helping us, very nice young lady. We had our steak. We're watching the big screens up. We're watching some of the ball games out there. And I say, what's your Wi-Fi password? Because I wanted to log in because we're done eating and just watching sports. And she says, I don't know. I have to go look it up. It has numbers and stuff. I said, oh, that was so she came back and she gave me a little card that had the passcode on it, a little business card they hand out, and it had the passcode. You know what the numbers were? This is where we have math problems. The passcode for the Wi-Fi, we're in a place called Henry's Cigar Lounge. Henry's 123.
Oh, that's it. That is hard to remember.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? I wonder if she went to California schools or Texas schools.
I know.
It was kind of funny. We laughed at that. And I didn't make fun of her to her face, but I did behind her back that she had trouble with numbers. I bet she took a lot of drama classes. She's a liberal arts major is what she is. Wait, I'm a liberal arts major. What do you mean? Undergrad. All right, Laura Carno, bad news on education in California. But you have some good news for gun owners that might be watching us from the beautiful state of California. Good news for the Second Amendment.
Yeah, and we look at these in one state because does this happen in other districts? Does this get to the Supreme Court? But this actually came out over the holidays, and an appeals court in California. So California banned open carry. So here's what they said. Open carry is legal, except in the most populated counties. But when you look at how they define populated counties, it's where like 95% of the people live. So in California, you could open carry in like the little beansiest of counties. So an appeals court said they overturned that. And by the way, this is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, not any, by any measure, any bastion of conservatism. And so they overturned that. So in California, you now can lawfully open carry in whatever counties, regardless of population. So this is really a big deal. My sense is that the state will appeal it to the Supreme Court, and maybe that's what the Ninth Circuit wanted, to have it sort of taken off of their plate. But what happens in the Ninth Circuit is interesting to portend what could be happening in other even more conservative districts. And then something along these lines could get to the Supreme Court. So very interesting for not just California gun owners, but gun owners across the country. We'll see where that goes.
Now, the last legislative session in Colorado, we had some gun laws passed on how you can get your concealed carry permit. They made it more difficult. Do we have any pending cases in courts for the state of Colorado regarding the Second Amendment and some of the crazy stuff that Jared Polis has signed into law? Is everything still being contested in court?
Yeah, there's a state organization here in Colorado, CSSA, Colorado State Shooting Association, and they have taken up a bunch of lawsuits on the gun bills that just passed, and folks can look those up at cssa.org. They are for me, this is a group that I support because of the lawsuits that they're doing. And yeah, they're going after all the bad stuff that happened. They've got some really good plaintiffs, including a wounded warrior and some different people who, are really, really harmed by some of these gun laws that the Democrats claim are going to make us safer. Note, they never do make us safer. They only go after law-abiding gun owners like us and your listeners. So it's really important in your court cases to have the right plaintiffs who say, hey, look, I am very law-abiding and a very sympathetic character, a wounded warrior in one case, and this is really harming me. And that's how those lawsuits goes. You have to have a plaintiff who's going to be individually harmed by these laws. So these things are going to take time. But what I can do is look before our next session. I can look at where exactly those lawsuits are and report back.
We're talking about Colorado has this tradition of keeping Christmas lights up till after the National Western Stock Show, which I don't get, but you boo, it's going to be fine. Colorado also has a tradition, happens every year, that the state legislature convenes into session in mid to late January. We're going to be keeping a sharp eye on that, aren't we? Because there's always some crazy stuff that comes through.
We sure shall. Remember back in the day when we covered that powdered alcohol? Man, that was a great session. Yes, and now that I own a dehydrator, I actually know how to make powdered alcohol.
Yeah,
not a dehydrator, a freeze dryer. Sorry.
I forgot the lady's name. She was a Republican in Thornton, Colorado, and she was running a bill to ban powdered alcohol. Like, this is all you got elected for this, okay? And
yeah, her last name was Winholtz, and you called her Ma Winholtz.
Ma Winholtz. Oh yeah, that's right. Shoot, I don't even remember Delilah's name half the time. Her name's Harriet, but I call her Delilah. I'm just Ma Winholtz. She was a Republican, and somebody, I don't know what I'm doing in the legislature. I just ran. So the liquor lobbyist gave her a bill to ban powdered alcohol, as if the liquor companies were going to really be put out of business.
Right.
And I think that the use of powdered alcohol was you could carry it to the top of a 14er when you climb the big mountain, and you could add water, and then you have alcoholic beverage. And that was a whole thing in the legislature, powdered alcohol. She was a Republican too. We had to shame her for that.
Yeah, we did. And I think
I forgot about that.
One of the things we talked about was somebody making alcohol easier to carry somewhere, like you said, the top of a 14er or something. We should throw them a parade. They are an entrepreneur. They have invented something cool that there's a market for. Maybe it's a niche market, but there's a market for it. And Ma Winholtz tried to make it go away. And I'm going to take credit between you and me and the Jimmy Lakey show that we made that go away. We
made that go away. So it's legal for you. What I'm seeing is a side business. If the tomato hustle doesn't work out, I'm thinking you could become a purveyor of Laura Carno's powdered alcohol.
Well, so maybe I would make it from my own grapes that I grow and then freeze dry it and powder it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. You gotta got to get some fermentation going in there somewhere. And I don't know. Do you do that
Somewhere.
after the freezing, or I don't know?
Yeah, you would. I think you would make the wine and then do the freeze drying.
You grow grapes also, not just tomatoes, grapes.
Well, I'm growing nothing right now because we are brand new in our house and need to establish the new garden. But it's bigger than the last one with the intention of additional things, including grapes.
All right. Well, put that in your rack, your spice rack. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. This is spice rack.
People.
By the way, there's some, you and producer Chad are talking in the back room there. There's some Hello Kitty video that you got. I haven't seen it yet. What's happening?
Okay. So I
producer
sent you.
Chad are getting a little jolly. I'm like, I didn't watch it. I haven't seen it.
I sent you and producer Chad. It's a guy who, I forget his name, but he's a Trump impersonator, and he did a parody satire of Trump talking about the Maduro raid. And it includes that Maduro was wearing Hello Kitty pajamas, but it is funny. You should watch it. I don't think it's suitable for, younger audiences, but watch it before you, it was at the bottom of the email I sent you. Watch it before you put it on. Okay. Yeah. Watch it before you put it on.
Well, if producer Chad has it, he wants to play it, he can. We don't have a lot of standards here. I mean, you're on the show every week. So
but I keep my profanity to a bare minimum.
I know I miss that so much though. We need you to Laura unleash. That's what we need. Laura,
that's what we need.
2 weeks from today, I know you live far away, but if you want to come up, the road show, look at that. That's kind of fancy, isn't it? Tour bus and everything.
I saw that, and I look. When you put that up, I looked to see how long it takes me to get there. So that's an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And so then my question to me is, could I get there on time for our 8:30 and look camera ready? Because it takes, at my advanced age, it takes some time to do this.
Yeah, I understand. It takes me a long time to do this. Yeah,
I think it takes me more time to do my hair.
That's why, I put a hat on every day. That's why I'm working on my spice rack, because I get tired of looking in the mirror and going, well, I ain't going to get any better. Let's organize the spices. See, it's a diversion.
So I could come up for that, do my segment live, because that's a Tuesday.
That's
Carno Tuesday. And then we could look at your spice rack and organize it and put it into jars.
Don't be jealous, ladies. She wants to look at my spice rack.
You're the one who's making something out of that, dude.
I am. Not. Listen, if I didn't have middle school humor, I wouldn't have any humor at all.
I understand. I have guy friends with whom we are all just 12-year-old boys.
Yeah,
so I get that. That's my level of humor for sure.
Yeah, that's
and this video is that, well, there's some other smarter humor than 12 years old, but it is funny.
It's funny. Laura Carno, it is a pleasure. I appreciate you hopping on. Faster Colorado, how'd you finish up the year? And people need to remember their donations this year. FasterColorado.org, FasterColorado.org. I'll let you give the pitch, ma'am.
Yeah, definitely donations are needed all year long. We've already announced our schedule for armed school staff. That schedule's already out there at fastercolorado.org. Our rifle class already filled up. This is the first year we've offered rifle. There are some schools that their armed staff have rifles locked up, in addition to their handguns that are on their person. So that rifle class went like that. We're looking at if we need to offer another one. But our new classes for law enforcement, we're just about there on all of the locations and that kind of thing, but we're going to have integrated pistol and rifle for law enforcement response to school shootings. And we're also going to have CQB, which is close quarter battle. It's how you move through a school, how you clear hallways and classrooms and cafeterias and all that kind of stuff. That's law enforcement only. We're very close on that. I'd say within a week we'll have those out, and we can talk about that more later. But that was based on a grant given to us by the state of Colorado to train law enforcement. So we're very honored to have received that.
Go to the website, check out. They do great work. FasterColorado.org. They keep your kids safe in a lot of schools that call up Laura and say, don't tell the public, but we're going to train some teachers and administrators to protect the kids because they're already on campus, not having to wait for a 911 call.
Yeah, and I will be on a panel in Colorado Springs on Thursday a school safety panel that a charter school is putting on to talk about lots of different things, including armed staff. And that's at Liberty Tree Academy Thursday night if you're in the Colorado Springs area. It's on LTA's social media. It's also on my social media, both Faster and my own personal social media on Thursday.
Laura Carno, Carno. If you're looking her up, you're listening, you don't see it on the screen. FasterColorado.org, FasterColorado.org. Laura, it's a pleasure. Thank you for putting up my 12-year-old. I wouldn't say 12th grade humor. It's 12-year-old.
That's
humor,
not,
right?
yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. You're one of my 12-year-old brothers.
You got it. Laura Carno, LauraCarno.com if you want to find it. FasterColorado.org, FasterColorado.org. If you see the title under my name here, Jimmy Lakey, I have a spice rack. First time in my adult life, I bought a spice rack, ordered it off Amazon. Not one of those spinny things. It's simple. You had to assemble it, and you can put two together, and it's really fancy. I enjoyed it, and I have a spice rack now. So we're very happy about my spice rack. So am I the only adult in America that doesn't have a spice rack? I think I might have been. I have a spice rack now. I feel grown. I feel like I maybe have crossed the threshold into being old or something. I have a spice rack. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good to have you here on the show. I do want to remind you, Michael Letts is standing by to jump in here. I want to remind you about the Lakey Unleashed Roadshow. We're doing live events across America this year. The first roadshow is going to be right here in my own backyard. Well, it's not literally my backyard, but not far from where the show originates. We're going to be returning to the site where we did last year's inauguration party. This was our first and only roadshow last year. I did several hotels, but not a public road show. That's going to be on Tuesday, January the 20th. It's 2 weeks from today. 8 a.m. the start time of the show. We'll do the show live from the Casbar Cigar Lounge in Lafayette, Colorado. That's about 15 minutes outside of Boulder, between Boulder and Denver, in some of the suburbs there. And if you've been there, you know where it's at. If you haven't been there, love to have you again. Doors will open at 7:45, and hopefully it's better weather than last year. And again, got a road show in the works, planning for the great state of Texas, for all of our Texas is huge. We're talking about people that could come, even guests like Doug Giles. I'm like, well, that's still 4 hours from Doug Giles. So we're working out some of the details on road shows. I want to get out to see Michael Letts do a road show out near him. He mentioned a great place to smoke cigars, so maybe that's a possibility later on this year as well. The Lakey Unleashed Roadshow, number 1, Tuesday, January the 20th, and we'll give some of those bobbleheads away as well, so don't miss that. January the 20th, right here in Colorado, and all of you outside of the state of Colorado, don't panic, don't fret. We're coming, and we're going to be there and make all of you proud, probably, maybe not. All right, good to have you here on the show. Jimmy is my name. Pleasured, pleased. Michael Letts has now joined us on the stage. Michael Letts, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Although, Jimmy, you just got yourself in trouble. I hadn't thought about this, but we have a show that we're going to be producing this year called Bulletproof, and it's a road show. We go on the road and we go into, let's just say, your neighborhood. We bring out law enforcement. We bring out the community. We do what we call in the South a hoedown, where we engage the public along with the first responders. We present vests. We let people see these are actual human beings. We have competitions, just like you remember the gladiators competitions in the old days, obstacle courses, etc. Whole lot of fun. So I just found my partner. Because you're going on the road anyway, Jimmy, we're going to do it together.
Let's do it. I'd be glad to do it. The gladiator competitions. I remember one time I was working with kids in a youth group and volunteering at a church, and we rented this stuff for gladiator, like big blow up things, and they did that jousting. That was fun. My favorite was when you get in the sumo wrestler suits and you wear those things. That was always fun, but they usually smelled because people sweated in them before you. But maybe you and I could host some sumo wrestling as well at this road show.
Looking forward to it. We'll have a blast, Jimmy. I mean, I'm serious. We have this already planned. We're going to be going on the road, and I didn't realize you were going on the road too. So we'll just go ahead and make an effort to hook up together.
Let's sync up. Your people call my people, which means call me or text me, and because I think you have a couple of people. I got Delilah, and she's worthless. So and producer Chad doesn't talk to me after 9:30 in the morning. So we're done there. Michael, Letts, good to have you here. Happy New Year. How'd you spend that New Year, sir?
Well, we spent that New Year, coordinating. We had a major event going on, and that was extracting Madeira and making sure that we did it without a flaw. And taking a look at buttoning down the hatches as we prepare for the repercussions that are coming.
Let's talk about those repercussions that are coming. We had a not guilty plea yesterday. Now we have people talking about, is Cuba going to be able to survive? How's Putin going to react here? That if we start selling some cheap oil to, let's say, India or something like that, and cut off his gravy train. Talk about the repercussions.
Well, we'll work our way backwards. You threw out quite a few. Let me grab them real quickly. Let's talk about Russia and China and Iran. Okay. Because they were the key allies for Maduro and Venezuela. First of all, let's deal with China and Russia. China and Russia gave to Maduro their most sophisticated air defense systems that they utilize themselves, all right? I mean, this was supposed to be pristine. You can't touch them. They will take you out before you even can blink your eye. We had 152 planes. We took every one of them out. Not a single casualty, not a single deficit or detriment to any of our military craft. So how does that apply to China and Russia? Well, let's take China. China's sitting there trying to flex a muscle. Don't you mess with us. We're going to go into Taiwan and we're going to do whatever we want to do. You better snap to it. I'd be thinking hard and long about that kind of an attitude when your massive defense system that you tout as the best in the world just got trounced by the United States of America. To Putin, I've got muscle I'm flexing here and how we're going to handle Ukraine, and y'all better be treated better than you are. Let's be careful how we view ourselves, because you just threw out your best and we trounced it. I don't know what other word to use, Jimmy. We trounced it. And you may not have the military might and capacity that you're thinking about. Now, for Iran, looks like the quest for freedom has spread. Your people are out in the streets. They are now attacking Revolutionary Council bases, not all of them, but some. You've got a real mess on your hands. And quite frankly, I'm not so sure your administration, the Ayatollahs, are going to survive. So I think you better kind of can it a little bit and realize that your days are numbered there. Now let's go back to Cuba. How is Cuba operating? How is it keeping its head above water? They were getting oil from Venezuela because they were partners, cheap oil, turning around and selling it to China. You remember China will take anything they can. That just got cut off. That was their major. They don't have a lot of cash coming in any other place. So their whole economy is fixing to tank. How do you think the people are going to react when the economy totally tanks in Cuba? Especially now that Castro's dead and gone, and you're having a hard time maintaining and holding power to begin with. Let's talk about Mexico. You know, we just sent a very strong message to the cartels, because you remember Maduro was a key asset or key member of the cartel. I mean, he owned this cartel, okay? He wasn't like he was a customer. We just trounced the cartels, the biggest cartels in Venezuela. Mexico, you have been running your whole operation. You're running the government based on cartels. We just showed you what we think of cartels and what we're going to do to them. You push your luck one time too many with this country. If I were you, I'd be not getting any sleep or sleeping with one eye open. So there's a lot that is fixing to change in the Western Hemisphere. And why not? The Western Hemisphere is where we are at. It is essential for our protection and for our security. And we're going to now do the things that are necessary to protect the American people.
We had historian Richard C. Lyons on the program earlier today, and he reminded us what the Monroe Doctrine was that we have gotten away from in America. Was back in the days of President Monroe. We said, hey, the Western Hemisphere is ours, and we're not going to have any tyrant, any king, any royalty, any foreign land or dictator. Doesn't matter. You stay out of our world. We run this area. And we've gotten away from that, and so much so that you have naval occupancy and presence in Greenland. To the north of us, you have the actions that have been happening with the Belt and Road Initiative by China in Central and South America, these impoverished countries. And we're just simply returning to what America used to say, we'll take care of this hemisphere, you stay the heck out. And we unfortunately have fallen far from that in the last several decades.
Well, I think what's very noteworthy in this discussion to the rest of the world, to the globe, is America's back. We know that our military is par excellence to no other, if you use it the right way. And how do we use it the right way? That's what you're trained to do. Go do it. Tell me what you need, get the job done, and call me when it's over. You see, when you do it that way, our military performs flawlessly. They just demonstrated that. It's when you get into other issues, whether it's you're leaving from Afghanistan or whether it was during the Carter age trying to free the hostages, and you have all these politicians at the last minute. I don't think we should do this. Oh, hold on, wait here, stop, pause, wait a second. That you have chaos.
Yeah.
We have learned how to make sure that our military performs the way it's always been programmed to perform. We demonstrated that. So to the rest of the globe, we can back what we say. So let's make sure we have the appropriate attitudes from this day forward.
Right before we decided to take action in Venezuela, which is not unprecedented in American history. 1990, we did the exact same thing, not as quickly. Took out Manuel Noriega. You can go back to the 1800s and find out that we were, the Congress actually gave authority for us to go arrest people, bring them back. The Pirates of Barbary, you go back in that era. We've done this before, and we have the right, we've claimed the right to do that. Somebody says it violates international law. Well, remember, American law trumps international law all the time, and we don't. If it's more about what's in our country. Right before this happened, though, Iran, the Ayatollah, who now we're told is contemplating an exodus, keeping plane ready to go. The rumor is he may be headed to Moscow. He may flee Iran. But that's the story today. But last week about this time, he was blabbing his mouth saying that his country is at total war with the United States of America, Europe, all of Europe. He's at war with Israel and Europe. Give me your thoughts. This Iranian president, now he's not the Ayatollah, there's different people, but they're thinking of leaving the country. But last week they were talking some smack about being at war with Europe and the U.S.
Well, their whole cabinet, their whole administration is looking to leave. And the reason why is because, this is how they operate. When they realize that they're under threat, which you remember this dissident situation, this opposition among their people just didn't occur in 24 hours. It has been building. They know it's been coming. It's been getting more bold and more direct. And so what do? To try to rein their people in. They try to rally them to a cause. We're going to declare war on the world. We are the only true people of this globe, and we're going to fight everybody. So put your little disagreements aside. We unite together as all Iranians, and we're going to take on the world. Well, they laughed at it. They realized, that was a desperate move at the last minute to try to rally his people. It didn't work. It just further irritated them and made them realize they had to have a change. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing today, even as we speak, Jimmy. As the resistance continues to increase, and I believe that Iran will fall.
President Trump said, don't kill these protesters. You're going to have the weight of the United States on you. So we'll see what happens there. Michael, real quick, before we have to depart ways here, you said that in January, you thought some things were going to start to fall, prosecutions, some of the things that needed to happen to get the rule of law back here in America. We're now the 6th day of January, year of our Lord 2026. Are you still hearing the same rumblings that the Department of Justice is about to get very, very active?
I'm not just hearing the rumblings, I'm seeing the evidence. And let me be very clear, it's not just the Department of Justice. We've been saying all along these tribunals will be necessary as well. Let me tell you what has transpired very quickly. This needs to be said. You're not going to hear it anyway. Jimmy, you're breaking the news. You're
breaking the news. I like it.
Breaking the news. We have found in Venezuela, from the Department of Interior, from many of its cabinet members and many of its high-ranking officials, we have been provided a list. Now, remember, we're vetting this list as we talk. A list of elected officials, congressmen and senators, who are on the payroll for Venezuela, have been paid millions to subvert our government and to keep them in the loop and to support the government of Venezuela. Now, Jimmy, I am deeply sad to tell you when I have read that list, I don't have enough time on your show to go to all the names that are on the list. It's over half of the United States Senate. It is more Democrats than I care to remember. There are Republicans on there. It is the same as in Congress. This is unprecedented. We also have the same issue now coming out of Ukraine, that we have whistleblowers saying, hey, the money you sent over here, here's the senators and the House members whose money went into their personal accounts. All this is under consideration. All this is under review. So I probably underspoke when I told you that you're going to be fireworks in the first quarter of January. This cannot go unpunished and unchallenged. It has tremendous impacts on the country. What do you do if tomorrow, Jim, we wake up and 400 members of Congress are in handcuffs? How do we operate as a country? So we're going to have to stage this. We're going to have to figure it, but it is underway. And that's just on that international side. Let's talk about just for a second what's going on in America. How about all the fraud in Minnesota? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We got a report, an audit that shows that it is probably prevalent in almost all of our 50 states. Okay. We just got a report this morning. Act Blue could have defrauded the American people of over $1 trillion. So what you're beginning to see is we don't have government of the people. We have government that is raping the people. And it's time that we're going to bring this to an end.
Buckle your seatbelts, Michael. I'm sure you and I will reconvene maybe the next day or so. Definitely in the next week or so. We'll get together and find out exactly what's happening. And the Lady Justice puts her blindfold back on and let those that have done this stuff to the taxpayers of America be held accountable. Doesn't matter whether you're red team, blue team to me. You've done this to the American people and the taxpayers, and you should pay that price. Michael, let's investusa.org. That's a great organization. I know you started a new year, but throughout the year, you're still helping law enforcement, providing them the protective gear that they need, active shooter vest, etc. And folks can contribute all year because it's, people, holidays, we really push it, but people need to contribute to what you're doing. Talk about investusa.org.
Well, we need it now more than ever because of what we just talked about. It's going to get very rough for law enforcement because we're going to be the ones that have to go out, make the arrests, bring them in for hearings, for indictments. And, quite frankly, with the people we're talking about, the power that they have, they will be doing everything in their means to circumvent that. So, including going after and supporting the elimination of law enforcement that gets them off the hook. So, if you have the ability, please make sure that those who are trying to protect you and are trying to bring justice to this country can go home safely to their families. We need to protect them, cover their back like they've covered yours. So make a contribution if you can on our website. God bless you. God bless America, Jimmy. Boy, it's going to be an interesting year for you and I. Looking forward to seeing you on the road.
I see it on the road show. Let's do it, Michael. Let's Lakey and let's and Lakey on the the like it. It sounds like a great law firm as well, but I'm not a lawyer. I dropped out.
I'm not either, but we can play one.
I pretend to be one on the Streamcast and podcast. Investusa.org. Investusa.org. Michael, let's God bless you. We'll stay in touch. Definitely for sure. Don't forget the road show we're talking about, the first road show of 2026. Lakey Unleashed Roadshow live event, Tuesday, January the 20th. That's going to be the Casbar Cigar Lounge coming up in Lafayette, Colorado. It's 2 weeks from today if you're listening in real time. Show will be live. Last time we were there was a full house, and they've improved the ventilation. We had so much cigar going on that day celebrating the inauguration. They've added new air purifiers there. So anyway, well, it was also very cold, so you couldn't step outside. Hopefully we have good weather. 2 weeks from today, the live event. And we've got one coming to you, working on one down in the state of Texas. And we'll let you know as they develop every month or so. We'll try to hit the road and enjoy the audiences live out there. So love to have you join us at any of the roadshow events Tuesday, January the 20th. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you about Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, a fantastic partner of the show since the very beginning. And you need to go to her website, check it out. This first of the year is here. The selling season is starting to get underway. You said, I'm not going to sell till later in the spring. Talk to Sherry about that strategy because we've talked to her on the program extensively about how it is that sometimes if you wait too long, other people start selling, and then your price is going to have to come down to compete. As a matter of fact, you're hitting an area right now where it's going to be a great seller's market. It depends on the area, but what you're trying to accomplish. But there's strategy involved. It's not just picking a random time to put the sign in the yard. You want to know exactly what needs to be done to the house, when's the right timing. If you're a buyer, maybe if you wait a little bit longer before you start buying or just kind of start feeling it out, the prices could come down. There's all this to make sure that you keep as much money in your pocket, either buying or selling, because your real estate transaction can create generational wealth, and Sherry approaches it from that way. Also, every transaction, she gives a portion of her proceeds and commission. She gives it to a charity of your choice. And if you're a veteran, a first responder, military person, serve active duty, retired, whatever, she'll take a dip in her commissions so that you can keep more money in your pocket. Real estate, I-25, the Interstate 25 corridor in Colorado, from Denver to Fort Collins, Parker, Aurora, Lakewood, Arvada, Longmont, Boulder. You get the idea. And if she thinks there's somebody else that can help her, she has a free referral service as well if it's out of her purview. But go to her website, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, and be sure to tell her that you heard me talking about her on the program. All right, we've gone overtime, my friends, and it's time to get to the stolen memes section of the show. And to do the stolen memes, I'm going to spin the globe, and we're going to steal memes, a few memes from around the globe, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Ready? Let's do it. Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Finally, an illegal alien Democrats don't want to bring to the United States. We found one. There's one they don't want to do. Let's do it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. This is me at work for the first time in 2 weeks trying to remember what it is I do. Anybody? I had that yesterday on the computer. I'm like, Chad, how do we do the show again? I don't remember, producer Chad. Yeah. Good luck, everybody. You'll get back in the swing of things, I promise. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. When you hit a certain age and the doctor says, put ice on whatever hurts. Yeah, just roll yourself in the snow. We can't do that. We have no snow in Colorado right now. We're missing the snow. I'm not missing it, but we are missing it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I got a new type of oil for you, big boy. There's Maduro. Think he's in the same cell as P. Diddy? I hope not. That would be a bad thing for one of them. A new kind of oil. Some things make you shiver. Round around the globe we go. Where you steal the memes from, no one knows. Venezuela has $17.3 trillion in oil reserves, and we sell it for a quarter of its value. We're going to get $4.3 trillion. That's enough money to open 4 new Somali daycares in Tim Walz's Minnesota. Yeah. Yeah, Maduro's probably going, man, we got a lot of oil. We should have just opened daycares, and maybe they wouldn't have come and extracted me in the middle of the night. Just should have opened daycares in Minnesota. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I apologize. Producer Chad chose this one. That's the Air Force One upgrade. Just look at the screen. That's a pair of brass ones is what that is. Yep, Air Force One upgraded. That's funny. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. The gong from China. They have said no more intellectual property thieving because we have the rights to all that intellectual property, and nobody steals better than them, so they want us to not get too good at it. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to be here with you. 2 weeks from today, we'll be wrapping up a show from the Casbar Cigar Lounge in Lafayette, Colorado. It's the Lakey Unleashed Roadshow event we'll be talking about. I hope you can make it. We'd love for you get to a state near you or an area near you, and if we come to your town, your neighborhood, come by and see us. We'd always appreciate you coming to see us. I gotta go. That's it. We didn't get to half the material. Well, we're running late. I don't want to blame Michael Letts. He was 15 minutes late showing up. Michael's fault. Round around the globe we go. I'm gonna go bye-bye. See you tomorrow. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.